Welcome back to our Texas springtime painting. I'm going to start working on the barn. The perspective is a little bit off because the camera is at an angle to my canvas. I have to have it at an angle so you can see what I'm doing. If I put it straight onto the canvas, I'd be between the camera and the painting, and you wouldn't be able to see a thing. So you're just going to have to excuse the little bit of a skewed perspective, and let's get to work. So these weathered old boards are mixes of my mud, which is 2 parts of ultramarine blue plus 1 part of alizarin crimson. Then this is a mixture of just ultramarine blue plus white. And oh, excuse me, the barn, I kind of left you right in the middle of that mixture for the barn color. This is mud plus cadmium orange plus white. And that gives me just all of my brown mixes and are all based on that mud mixture. And then I can add cadmium orange into that. I've also added a little ultramarine blue into some of the mixtures to give it a more grayed tone. That's this one right here, and this is again is the mud plus cadmium orange plus ultramarine blue, and that gives it a more grayed appearance. And so anyway, I can, using just different varieties, different of those combinations, using different proportions in those mixtures, I can make different shades. And this is a bright brush. It's a square-ended brush. Pull it straighter. And I prefer these. They just are a nice brush to work with. And so I do the majority of my painting with these. Now this is that mud plus cadmium orange plus white mixture. And it has more of the orange, more of the white. So it makes a warmer, brighter mix. Roof makes a shadow. Also, there is a beam here that up in the hayloft, there's usually a beam on the barns with a pulley that they can lift up hay into the loft from outside. So let's put that beam in. I'm using a mix of my mud plus liquid. And I can just draw this into the wet paint. And let's just put that little pulley down. Again, I'm not putting a whole lot of detail in it, but it's just indicating that. Now the light's going to hit, excuse me, sunlight's going to hit the top of that beam. So let's just make it a little bit lighter on the top. And it's also going to hit that front edge of the pulley. That didn't stick. Sometimes when you're painting wet into wet, the paint doesn't quite stick, so you have to go back and try it again. I'm going to take just a little ultramarine blue and just run along the edge of that beam so it's not quite so stark. Now that beam casts a shadow. The sun's coming this way, so it casts a shadow down the side of the barn. From here, we'll just bring that shadow down. And as the shadow gets further away from the object that's casting it, it gets a little bluer. Continue to work on that side of the barn. Now as we come closer to the viewer, I make it warmer. And that just because we're working on a 2-dimensional canvas, we want to give the impression of 3 dimensions. So warm and cool is a good way to do that. And warm colors are the oranges, yellows, those reds, those are warm colors. Cool colors are blues. And so I use, then as I go toward the back of this wall, I add more blue to it. And that just brings that back part of the building back a little bit. And those are, again, working on a canvas, we're working in 2 dimensions, and we want to give the appearance of 3 dimensions. So there's several methods we can do that. Then I come back with some of my board color, and I don't want that to be even because those old weather boards are not even. You can see how I can use the edge of this brush to make those finer lines and use the flat surface then to make broader strokes. The barn door is also going to cast a little bit of a shadow. And even the rail that the barn door rides on. And that area of the barn underneath that railing is going to be in shadow because that railing is casting the shadow down. And then also this door is going to have a little shadow there. And again, I just add some blues into the wood back here. As we come up here, this roof, this part of the roof is casting you just have a little bit of the shadow here. And then this shadow casts down more. Even the shadow gets warmer as we come forward. That's my sissy. She wants something. But she's going to have to just wait a few minutes till I get to a stopping point. She probably wants me to pet her. But you can see how this portion of the front of the barn, which is closer to us, appears to come closer because that's warmer. Actually, I can add a little bit of warmth right in here. Now I'm going to do the under part of that roof. And this is a mixture of my mud plus the liquid. I just want to make this a little bit darker, and then this portion here going to be a little darker here, and bluer goes back. And then I'm going to make the rafters, the beams that hold the roof up, extend out. This is my mixture of my mud plus liquid. I'm bracing my hand on a maul stick. This hooks over the top of the easel, and I can just brace my hand here, and this steadies my hand as I do these finer details. Now my one little beam ran into my pulley there, so I just clean this up. I'm going to just soften that a little bit so doesn't interfere with my pulley there. pull it a little bit darker. I made that too round. It's not oval enough. Just pull that down. And this beam out here. And then we'll have a few little upright cracks in those boards. Just want to add a little bit of that barnwood texture in there. That one got too thick, but I can always just come back with my color and paint over those. You can work back and forth. That's the joy of the oil painting, whereas some watercolor is a little bit harder. Oils, if you don't like what you've got, you can always scrape them off and start over. I'm going to put my rail in for the barn door. Rollers. And then we need to put a horseshoe up there for the good luck. And barns, old Texas, that's a thing in Texas. People like to put horseshoes, old horseshoes up. Now, you always put them with the ends up so your luck doesn't run out. So I established the ends first. And there's our horseshoe over the barn. Then the light's going to hit the top of this right here. And that's how we get the barn in here. I appreciate you watching my YouTube videos. Thank you for visiting the studio today. And also visit my blog. The link is in the description below. If you will go to my blog, it will take you to the post of the very first blog on this painting, and you can follow it all the way through. You can follow every step and just see the painting progress all the way through. So you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you again, and happy painting.